A new exhibit opened this summer at the OSU Museum of Art, and we got a behind-the-scenes look at how it all came together. Let's go check it out. Welcome to Inside OSU.
Doel Reed was actually a professor at Oklahoma State for 35 years, but he had a major national reputation.
He's a critical figure in the art department. He really helped to sort of solidify the art department and the arts at Oklahoma State University. We owe a lot to Doel Reed in the art department and at OSU. He has this lasting legacy and a real foothold in our history.
Sun Pattern's Dark Canyon opened this summer, but for exhibit curator Rebecca Breenan, it's a project years in the making.
I became interested in Doel Reed really in 2014. I drove out to Taos with my daughters. We stayed at the home and studio, and I started looking around the studio and getting to know more about Doel Reed's work, and this is wonderful work, this beautiful printmaking, really wonderful landscapes. Why is there nothing written on this artist? So I got hooked. And here we are now. Then I feel like you would be more drawn to it, and then you can do this kind of movement to the right, which will take us to that wall.
And Oklahoma State has more of Doel Reed's work in their storage, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
So how did you decide that these were the prints and the paintings that were going to be displayed in this exhibit?
It's so hard. Ultimately, you've got to figure out what key works will allow you to tell that story. And sometimes you really have to be sort of ruthless and cut out things which don't quite tell the story, even though you really love them, but if they don't quite tell that story, because again, an exhibition has to make sense visually.
Deciding which paintings to hang can be a merciless process. Deciding where to hang the paintings, well, that's a little more fun.
So this is called SketchUp. It's a 3D modeling software. So it kind of gives us a good idea of how the pieces are going to fit inside the gallery, how they're going to look next to each other. So it's a less permanent way of practicing.
What's the next step of the installation process?
After we figure that out, I'll take screenshots of everything. I'll send it off to the curators or anyone that's having a hand in the actual decision making. They'll look through them, send me back their notes, and then I'll make changes that they need, because it's very easy to make a change on this.
It has to make sense visually, and sometimes you can't put something like things which are entirely unrelated in terms of the subject matter together unless you're trying to make a really strong point about that compare and contrast.
What if we move the beastrum to next to this end piece? So swap these two with that.
Next to the Agnes Martin. Farms with the winter landscape, just to see how that looks.
I guess we could try some weird configurations.
I'm open to that.
Okay. And so we have Doel Reed's early life, we have his time in the Southwest, we have the women and muses that he painted, and then we have the last Aquatints section. There always is some flexibility when you're designing an exhibition and actually have the works in the space to think about, what works really go best next to each other. That's always a really exciting part for me. It's fun to actually see the works in person and to get to assist in the design of the show.
30 1/4.
What inspired Doel Reed's work?
Regionalism, really, I think the American landscape, his immediate landscape, I think was Doel Reed's primary inspiration. So whether that was the Stillwater landscape that he lived and worked in for many years, and traveling around Stillwater looking at our sort of red dirt landscape out here,
He is especially known for his landscapes and was continually inspired by the American landscape throughout his entire life. But there was always a soft spot in his heart for the female figure, the female nude in particular. So even in his 80s, he still had women sitting for him as models.
You've sort of been following Doel Reed's work since 2014.
Yes.
How long has this exhibit been in the making before it actually came to fruition?
So 2014 is when I thought, hey, this is something I can work on. But it wasn't until 2018 when I really sort of hunkered down and said, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And I started coming up with a list of possible images for the exhibition.
She asked me to work on this with her in 2019. So I've been working on it for about 2 years now. So it's wonderful to see it actually in person and come to fruition.
Sun Patterns Dark Canyon, the paintings and aquatint of Doel Reed runs through the end of October. For more information about this and future exhibits, visit museum.okstate.edu.